All right, man, peace. So, in this society, much is made about the quote-unquote single mother phenomenon, as well as the quote-unquote deadbeat dad issue. As usual, they address two separate issues when it's really only one issue, and that is the so-called black man's decision-making. This is what I always harp on this channel. There is no such thing as a single mother issue. It is a cultural issue predicated off of the so-called black man making bad decisions and not having discretion. As I state on this channel, I'm always going to harp on the so-called black man because all you can change is you. You can't change someone else, and you should not even be trying to. They're going to conform or change or be stubborn and persist in their conduct, but it's all going to be predicated on you being able to discipline yourself. That's all that we can worry about, is disciplining ourselves. We can't worry about trying to alter or change somebody else's conduct or their outlook. So-called black man, when they call you a deadbeat dad, what that means is that you refuse to pay the tax for that bond known as your child. You have to pay that tax in order to make sure that that bond comes to maturity. And if you are unwilling or unable to pay that tax, they're going to throw you in prison because that's how you work off your debt there. Period. So you have to make better decisions in regards to what you choose to do with your life, who you choose to procreate with, so that you can avoid a lot of nonsense. So that brings us to this case here. Miss Shemeska Miles, she's bringing a lawsuit against the defendant, who she states is heavily in arrears on child support payments. He is a quote-unquote deadbeat dad. He was formerly incarcerated. And let's see what they have to say. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
Plaintiff Shamika Miles says when she was 5 months pregnant with the defendant's twins, he went to prison for drug possession. Shamika says the defendant does nothing to support their 8-year-old girls, and she's suing him today for unpaid child support.
So, brothers, pay very close attention. It states here that the defendant, her quote-unquote baby daddy, was incarcerated for drug possession when she was 5 months pregnant. Now, she chose to get impregnated by a man who she knew was selling drugs, but now she wants to play the victim role when what happens to drug dealers unerringly happens, which is that he got incarcerated, he got locked up, and now that he's out, he's a felon and he cannot get a good job. She knew all that beforehand. There is no fairy tale love story where a drug dealer ends up just being able to raise a family for 25 years and sits at home chilling. The story always ends the same. She knew that. But this society does not hold the woman responsible for her poor decision making. And to be quite frank with you, nor should they. You know why? Because they know that the woman is just a child. She makes decisions based on her emotions until they get to be about 45 years old. That's why I harp on the so-called black man. Now, this man is going to come into this courtroom. He's going to be a defendant, and he's going to act quizzical as to why he's being raked over the coals. He should be raked over the coals, because he did not think 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead. And a lot of that may have to do with the household that he came from. Maybe his father didn't raise him to understand society in a certain way. But now it's his responsibility to break the cycle, so that if he has a son with another woman, or even with this female, if he chooses to do so, he has something to impart unto that son. Because the cycle has to get broken, brothers. And the only one going to break the cycle is you. Nobody else going to break the cycle, because there's too many people making too much money off of your dysfunctionality and your stupidity and your simplicity. That's how it goes, man.
Defendant Patrick Mundy insists he's not a deadbeat dad and claims he even helped raise Shamika's daughter from a previous relationship.
Yeah, but none of that matters. And you can see that the brother has an irate look on his face. He probably feels like he's being quote-unquote done dirty. At the end of the day, no, you're not getting done dirty, bro. If you have children by a female in this society and you cannot provide for them monetarily, they are going to take you through the court system and tax you. And it is a man's job to be able to provide for his children, both monetarily and intellectually. You have to have something to teach the child. So you can't come into court all emotional because you thought that the chick was supposed to quote unquote hold you down for perpetuity. It just doesn't happen that way. That Bonnie and Clyde shit, it seems nice when the chick is 19, 20, 21 years old and her mind is romantic. Oh, my man is a thug nigga and I'm a ride or die bitch and all that other nonsense. And then they get to a certain age, a certain phase where they get tired of that, and that's where they start to utilize the Caucasian man's court system. And you have to see all those things ahead of time. All that drug dealing and dope slinging, that shit is that shit is never going to be a long-term business venture. It's just not. Unless you're working hand in hand with the FBI or the CIA. Allegedly.
Patrick says he's been trying to financially support his children, but he's had a hard time finding a good paying job because he's a convicted felon.
Yeah, well, that's normally what happens, bro. That's why you gotta leave the dope game alone. Leave the dope game alone unless you're willing to deal with the consequences.
Start with you.
8+ years of lies, confusion, dysfunction has finally came to a head.
Yes, and you loved every bit of those 8 years. You loved the drama, you loved the theatrics. Now you're ready to move on to another phase in your life, and you wanna look in the rear view and in hindsight and act as if it was so terrible. When you loved every minute of it, you loved the excitement. You knew what he was doing.
In 2003, Patrick and I dated. In 2007, we rekindled through MySpace. Throughout our relationship, I found out I was pregnant with twins. In the middle part of my pregnancy, I was 5 months. I was having complications due to preeclampsia. I found out that Patrick was incarcerated for drug possession.
You found out like he was living all the way across town and you were just chilling at the crib pregnant with twins and you thought he was working at the post office. No, ma'am. In 2003, when you met him, you knew he was a dope dealer. In 2007, when you rekindled, you knew he was still slinging dope. So everything involved here involves dope. He's a dope, you a dope, and he was slinging dope.
So during that time, I had to work, save paychecks, even get a payday loan to try to bail him out of jail. And I hope.
Right, but you should have known that was going to be a possibility. When you get involved with a dope dealer, what did you expect? You think he was just going to be chilling at home in a mansion forever?
In the hopes that he'll come home to get a job and take care of his family.
Was at any point in his life, did he convey to you that he was someone who was just going to chill out and do a 9 to 5? This is what's laughable about many of these situations, is that when the female decides that she wants to go into victimhood mode, she wants to act as if she thought that at some point he was going to convert over into being a conventional citizen, someone who actually cares about his community. Because if you're slinging dope, you don't care about your community at all. You as a female decided to get involved with him, so you didn't care about your so-called community either. But now, because you're in the courtroom, you get to act as if you're someone who had the wool pulled over your eyes.
Because at this point in time, we were solely dependent on my grandparents for financial support. So, boy, was I wrong. None of that happened. We had a lot of ups and downs. It was like a roller coaster when it came to our relationship. We had ups, we had downs. When it was down, it was down. When it was up, it was up.
Well, what would you expect if you're in a relationship with a drug dealer? He doesn't know what's coming tomorrow. So, of course, that's going to trickle over into his relationship with you. He don't know when the cops is going to come to get him. He don't know if somebody he working with might try to kill him. He doesn't know. A rival may want to take over his block, wherever he's slinging at, so on and so forth. It's going to trickle over to you. Your whole life is going to be haphazard. You didn't grasp that. Well, I can't expect her to grasp that. He looks like a little boy, to be quite frank with you. Just in his countenance, he looks like a person who doesn't have much comprehension ability. Brothers, once again, you have to make sure, and I don't care if you're listening to this video and you're 15, 16, 17 years old, you have to think about the consequences of your actions. When you go out there and you decide that you're going to partake in selling drugs or doing anything that is deleterious to you or to your community, quote unquote, it's not going to end well. It's going to take many years for you to be able to overcome the bad things that you do and your lack of foresight. It is going to come back on you eventually, and it's going to take years for you to be able to overcome that.
I tried everything humanly possible for Patrick to be a part of his kid's life. And he keeps constantly trying to portray to me that I'm this money-hungry, bitter baby mama.
Well, most likely because he said to himself, when this chick got involved with me, she knew I was slinging dope. So why else would she have wanted to be with me other than the fact that she liked all the money that I was making when I was selling? That's why he's coming to that conclusion.
And it makes me so mad because I'm like, what type of money hungry baby mama will buy food to bring to your house to watch your kids?
You have 2 children?
I have 3 daughters in total, but I have 2 daughters with him, 2 twins.
How old are they?
They're 8 years old. I don't know if you see pictures of them.
More of Judge Mathis in a moment.
I'm not sure what she means by what type of money hungry baby mama will buy food to bring to your house to watch your kids. First off, it's both of you guys' children. So that's your job as a mother, is to bring food to the house to make sure that the children are provided for. It's his job as a father to make sure that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's really supposed to be presiding over the whole thing, but he doesn't have the cognitive function to do that. Once again, brothers, until you know that you are ready for those type of responsibilities, do not engage in serious relations with these women. You have to make sure that you're mentally prepared, financially responsible, all those things, man. You have to understand the scope of what you're getting into, because you will end up in this courtroom and it will not end well for you. Especially when you're not sure what your next move is going to be. They can read that and they're going to take advantage of it. When they know that the so-called black man does not know what he wants to do with his life per se, or that he's not actionizing it fast enough, they're going to put a penalty on you in the form of a fine, a levy, or incarceration, because they don't care about you. You're just a financial asset.
So he calls you money hungry?
He calls me bitter and money hungry.
Yet you say there's a child support arrearage of $5,000 or more?
Yes, altogether he owes over $27,000.
27? You have a...
Now listen to that. He owes $27,000, which clearly he cannot afford to pay, because if he could, he would have been paying it. Whether he can afford it or not, they're going to take that pound of flesh out of his ass one way or the other. They're going to stipulate to him that he must make the payment, and after a while, if he doesn't, they're going to throw him in prison. A lot of people don't understand, why do they throw men in prison for not paying child support? Because, brothers, it's a tax. If you're financially in arrears, they're going to throw you in jail to work off the tax that you owe. Every transaction in this society is a commercial transaction. People think that they're throwing these men in jail because they didn't treat their children well, and they think that there's some type of emotional aspect to. No, it's not. Everything is financial. And the judge is a banker as well. He gets a portion of the monies that are owed to the state. The judge is a banker.
You have a...
I do.
Order?
This is actually the amount that he owes.
When was the last time he's paid anything?
Okay, I have proof of that too. The last payment that I received from Patrick was it was October 31st of 2016, an amount of $1.48. Here. I don't know if you want to present this as evidence as well.
Now you see how this man is getting embarrassed, and he deserves to be embarrassed because he's not on point mentally. The chick actually is submitting evidence that he gave her $1.48. Now, is anyone with basic cognitive function expected to believe that he came to her house and gave her $1.48 and said, "Here you go"? No. I'm sure that he's probably been giving her cash here and there, but he has no proof. That's why I tell brothers, if you're in a situation where you're paying a woman or anyone, you should make sure that you're paying them in a way where you can verify the exchange. You have to make sure that you can prove what you're doing. But because he has the drug dealer mentality, everything with him is probably being done in cash money.
All right, sir. You want to give me some background?
Yes, sir. First off, I'm not the deadbeat that she's portraying me to be. Start off, the older daughter that she's talking about, I started off, I raised her. That's my daughter also.
Raised her where?
With her.
You were living there?
Yeah. I took care of her from 6 months until now.
Yeah, but none of that has anything to do with the case. And if you're trying to lay out that backdrop to try to convey to the judge that you're a quote-unquote good father, once again, brothers, they don't care about the emotional aspect. It's all about financial and commercial assets. That's it. They want to know, how come you're in arrears with this amount of money? A lot of these men move in with females who already have a child from a previous relationship, and they think that if they raise the child, or they help the woman to raise the child, or as they claim they're raising the child, that it's going to create some brownie points with the woman. It's not. It's not going to create brownie points with the female. Okay? Particularly if she sees that you owe her something in her mind that you owe her. She's not going to care. Her attitude is, you should be helping me take care of my child. I'm giving you this coochie. That's the mentality, bottom line. So when you decide to embark in a relationship with a female that already has children, please understand the rules of engagement. There's a high level of ungratefulness. Okay? Don't expect to win any awards for taking care of another man's child. Do not expect that. If you choose to do so, it should be out of the kindness of your own heart. And just in life in general, don't do kind things or good things for others expecting to be expecting to be recognized for it. Most people don't even have that ability anymore within them to understand that someone is doing something for them out of the kindness of their heart. Most people in this society have a sense of entitlement where they think everything is supposed to go their way. So when you choose to start these type of relationships, understand that. So to make a long story short, he's trying to create this aspect of himself for the judge that, look, I took care of her other daughter that's not even mine, so I can't be a deadbeat dad. That has nothing to do with the definition of a deadbeat dad.
Were you working?
No, at that point in time, around the time that she's talking about, I wasn't working.
What time were you working? During those 8 years?
When 8 years, I probably worked like 4 or 5. I was also incarcerated due to the.
So you worked 4 or 5 years?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
And so when you say raised her, you only raised her 4 or 5 years, or provided for her?
Yeah. Like still, that's still my daughter to this day.
We're talking about providing.
Yeah.
You see that? The judge said, I don't want to hear about how you think that's your daughter. We're talking about providing, meaning an exchange of monetary assets. Right? How many dollars did you give? That's what he wants to know. Once again, the judge is a banker.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know all that. You
All
don't
right,
have to tell me it's your daughter. We ain't talking about money. Cash, cold money. You know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about today. You was out there slanging dope. You know what it is. We talking about money.
It's hard.
Money.
That's what
moolah.
It's hard for me to get a good paying job.
You didn't say that. Don't
Due to
keep
I'm
here
a
talking
convicted
about.
felon.
Right, brother, but whose fault is that? Whose fault is that, brother, that you can't get a good job? You're the one who made these bad decisions. So now you have to deal with the repercussions of those decisions. That's just how it goes. And like I told you, brothers, notice how the judge started to gesticulate over the money. Please pay very close attention. Verdicts are rendered not according to what's quote unquote right. It's what's most advantageous for the judge and all parties involved to make the most amount of money, particularly for the court and for the system. So, once again, when you decide that you're going to have a child with a woman, when you decide that you're going to start living an adult level life, think ahead and try to prognosticate what could happen in this situation or that situation. What if this female decides she does not want to be with me anymore? Can I afford to pay child support? How many children do I plan to have with this woman? And if such and such thing happens and this situation falls apart, how much money will I be left with if she decides to go for the gusto? These are all things that you have to be ruminating about in your own head.
I'm a convicted felon. It's real hard for me to get a good
So am I.
job.
So am I. Let's get over that. I'm a convicted felon too. How about that? How about that? That's being so soft.
I'm not
feeling
soft,
sorry
John.
for yourself.
I
What
don't feel
streets you
sorry.
come from?
I agree. The so-called black man spends too much time trying to feel sorry for himself. Brothers, ain't none of us perfect. We all need help. But this victim mentality that the so-called black man likes to push and promote, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. I tell cats that in these videos all the time. No one's going to feel sorry for you. No one. You're worth too much in the prison system for them to feel sorry for you. You're worth too much in the athletic world and the entertainment world for them to feel sorry for you. The attitude is, if you don't know what you want to do with your life, I know what you can do. Go join my military. Or take your ass to jail. There's always something for you to do in their eyes if you don't know what to do. So that victim shit, that's not going to work. No one cares about how you feel. No one cares about what you're going through. As I told you many times, the liberal Caucasian media tries to utilize the plight, quote unquote, of the so-called black man for their own advantage. They want to recruit you so that you can be at the forefront, at the vanguard of all these other liberal movements like the homosexual movement, feminist movement, transgender. They want to use you as foot soldiers. That's it. So that you can take the cannon fire. That's why they recruit you. That's why they act like they care about you. Other than that, nigga, just give me my money.
I tried my hardest to make everything happen. I sold drugs to provide for them.
You heard what he said? He said, I sold drugs to provide for them. So that's a confirmation that when she got with him, she knew what he was about. So for her to act as if she was so unaware of what he was doing and so amazed at the fact that he never cleaned his act up. You got with him because he was a dope boy. You liked the fact that he was a dope boy. You probably bragged to your friends that he was a dope boy. He had quote unquote swag, right? A lot of females are drawn to that agent of chaos energy. Like I tell cats all the time. They think that the so-called black woman likes thugs and drug dealers. It's not that. It's that what those dudes represent is confusion. And the woman likes confusion in general until she gets to a certain age. And clearly the plaintiff is at the age now where she's ready to move on to something else, something more functional.
So, how long were you in prison?
I did 11 months.
Makes sense. I can't do nothing for myself, Your Honor. I did 11 months in jail. I can't provide for my kids. Your kid's 8 years old, and you did 11 months. And you come in here talking about what you can't do. Have you been to school? How far you going to school?
I graduated. I graduated high school. I'm in school to be a barber as we speak.
How long?
Well, that's a good thing. That's a good profession for someone who was a former felon. He can make good money with that. So that's good.
How long you been there?
Probably about 5 months.
Okay, and you've been out how long?
From just like a few years.
What have you been out doing the other few years?
I've been trying to work, trying to provide.
Trying, I know.
Yeah,
Trying how?
She tells y'all the last.
I'm talking about you. It's me and you.
All right.
Don't get on her. It's me and you, man to man.
Agreed. Brothers, once again, nobody respects you when you're trying to go back and forth with the woman. At the end of the day, the woman is an emotional creature. You get caught up in arguments with her. Nothing fruitful is going to come from that. That's what the judge is trying to communicate. So there's man to man here. And the judge is basically trying to tell him, nigga, everywhere that you think you've been, I've been there already. So you can't hustle me with your bullshit lies and your lines. I'm not falling for that. That's why he shut him down when he said, I'm a felon, I can't get a good job. The judge said, what? I'm a felon, I'm a judge right now. There's different things that brothers can do, even if they get out of prison. But you have to apply yourself to the best of your ability. And at the end of the day, recognize that you were a felon because of your decisions. Your bad decisions are the reasons why you were a felon. That's why. And don't get caught back up going back and forth with the woman. It's not going to matter. You cannot win that battle.
Man, not putting the woman in it.
All right.
Man to man, kids to kids. You've been out for how long? For 3 years? And what have you? How many times have you worked in 3 years?
I've probably worked 2 of the 3 years that I've been out.
2 of the 3 years. And
Yeah.
so how much have you paid during those 2 years?
The child
in the last
support
2
going to
years,
half of
how
my
much
check.
have you paid? That's all I'm asking.
I don't
you.
know exactly how much I paid. I know
Okay,
child
so
support
they
is
say
half
you
of my
haven't
check.
paid.
Now you heard what he's saying? He's saying that child support is taking half his check. He doesn't know how much he's paid. He should have had that prepared before he came into the courtroom. Because if it's true that child support is taking out half the money, he should have stipends to prove that. Because as it is, she was able to submit quote-unquote information stating that he's only given her $1.48, which shows you how disingenuous she is. Because I believe him. I believe that child support is taking out a large sum of money from his check. Because that's what they will do. They will garnish that money. Why is that? Because he is property of the state. That man is property of the state, as are his children. So that's the issue where he's in arrears. He has to balance out his account to zero, his tax account to zero. So if you're not paying, they will take the money. Once again, brothers, please be very wary of what you're doing and who you're doing.
They say you owe $27,000.
Yes.
They say you paid $1.
That was the last payment.
$0.50. Well, you don't
That
have
was
any
the
other
last
evidence.
payment.
That's all we have evidence of is $1.48 something.
You see that? It's not what you've done, it's what you could prove.
I'm sorry. I'm giving you 2 pennies more in credit.
In a moment, the judge's ruling.
And you want me to listen to the sob story? You an insult to ex-offenders. Most ex-offenders don't stay in the same situation for 3 years. They come up. It might be rough on them the first 6 months, first year, but 3 years? Ain't nobody that weak to come from the street.
First off,
they tough. They overcome it. They fight back. They stay in school. When 3 years later,
I agree with the judge. It's like all this time, look, nigga, either you're going to go back to the streets or you're going to go to try to do something to change your life and change your career. Nobody wants to hear that sob story. You have to be mobilizing. You have to be moving. Life is movement. When you're stagnant, that means you're not living. You might as well be dead. He needed that. He needs this tongue lashing, and I believe that the judge is giving it to him strategically so that he can get his shit together. The good news for him, though, to give the brother credit, is that he's in barber school. That's a good career for him. He just needs to come into the courtroom, take his tongue lashing. Don't try to go back and forth. You're not going to win. Take your tongue lashing, become a barber, incrementally pay back what you owe, and learn from this issue. They claim that you owe $27,000. You allege that they've been taking out money from your check. Collect those stipends and try to prove that you don't owe what they claim you owe, and that's that, man. All you can do is move forward in life from here. But this is a good lesson for him because he has the mind of a boy.
But I'm in the process. I'm in the process.
$5,000 for you. I can't even listen to this no more. All right, man. You need out. Glad you out of the street. Have a good day. That was meant for the plane.
I just want him to step up and be a man and take care of his responsibility. His daughters are getting older. They're going to need their father in their life. So
I agree with that. They are going to need their father in their life, and in order for him to be a father, he's going to have to be a man and stop making all these fucking excuses. You're going to have to stop acting like people are doing him dirty. Nobody told him to go out in the street and sell that shit. He's claiming that he did it for the family. Yeah, you may have been doing it for the family, but you knew that that was not going to be a long-lasting vocation. I mean, give me a break. Even if she was with you initially because you were a drug dealer, that's the nature of the woman. The woman is a groupie, unless they're one of those rare ones that have common sense, at least in their youth. When they come of age, then they start to want to disavow themselves of those type of associations, because that's how the woman matures. She matures incrementally. The man has to be on point at a very young age if he wants to be functional in this society. You got to think some steps ahead, man. And as I've stated, none of us are perfect. We've all had to learn by making mistakes. And if the worst thing that happened to him is that he got a tongue lashing from the judge over something that he already most likely knows, he needed that. So good for him. But anyway, brothers, that's going to be about it on that. Just once again, be wary of what you do and who you do it with. Peace.